Going on, Visionaries? Jason Osborne, and as I sit here in my comfy little robe that my wife got me for my birthday yesterday, I was just thinking about what I should title this video because there's so many different things I could title this video. Best type of photography for beginners. If you're shooting on a budget, this is the best type of photography to shoot. My favorite type of photography, but I think I'm just gonna name it street photography. So yes, street photography. It's something that probably saved my photography career at one point because I was just so burnt out on gigs and just shooting portraits and models and IG work. You know, when you first start out as a photographer and you're making money, it's amazing. You know, you're so happy that people are feeling that your work is good enough to purchase and to hire you for. Same thing when it comes to shooting, portraits and for shooting for Instagram or just being creative or doing collab work like that. It's an amazing feeling to, link up with a model, put your heads together, come up with a cool concept, or just, just shoot and see what happens and, come up with some great work that both of you can use for your own portfolios. But after a while, both just start to drain you and in different ways. In business, I was just drained because I felt like I couldn't be creative enough with the gigs. When you're hired by someone, you have to give them what they want, regardless if you think it's a good idea or if you think that it's lame or if it's awesome. You still have to abide by what the customer's paying you for that product. You have to make sure that you put your personal feelings aside and you use whatever creative ability that you have to fulfill their vision. And when it comes to collab work, well, it's cool working with IG models and everything, but let's be real, Instagram is just super saturated with this type of work. And nowadays, it's harder and harder to come up with something that hasn't been seen on a daily basis by the masses to get you a following or just to get you some more exposure. And then on top of that, just finding some people to work with you can be a challenge in itself. Sometimes the model wants to get paid, but then you're thinking, hey, I should be the one getting paid. Or sometimes no one wants to invest in enough time or even sometimes resources like money or locations to get a good shoot off. And it just becomes a lot of pressure overall. I really didn't want to get too comfortable in not shooting because I love photography. I don't ever want to think of the day when I quit it. But I also didn't want to go back to just shooting, for money or shooting models. So I went back to my first love. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is street photography. For new photographers, for photographers who are looking for something different, who want a different type of challenge, for photographers on a budget, it hits all those marks. Street photography is literally just you and the camera and the world around you. It's your eye that's creating the vision. It's your eye that's capturing the story of the street. Through this type of street photography, it allows you to really just be your one individual self. You don't have to worry about finding a model to, pose or to take pictures of, or, being hired by someone to take pictures. You can literally take a picture of a street lamp because it's composed on the street a certain way, or you could see a family walking down the street and capture a funny moment between a parent and their child. There are so many different stories that you can capture on the streets that it can really lend a very good artistic eye to your photography. So I mentioned before that I thought street photography was great for beginners, and there's a reason for that. Most of the time when you're picking up a camera for the first time, you're not going to have a lot of money to buy gear with. And street photography is one of those genres that you absolutely do not need a lot of gear for. And it really doesn't matter. Now, when it comes to other types of photography, like portrait work or real estate or weddings or things like that, gear matters. Regardless of how many YouTube videos or YouTube creators tell you that gear doesn't matter across the board, when you start making money with your photography in those kind of areas of photography, your gear is going to matter. Lenses matter, okay? I don't care what another photographer tells you, you're always going to be able to get great images within a beautiful lens than a kit lens that comes with your camera in the box. I'm just sorry. And that's my true belief. And that's something that I had to find out for myself when I started shooting photography. But with street photography, you literally can use your iPhone and take amazing pictures because it's not about the gear. It's about the story that you're capturing. And that's something for me that is really, important that I feel that could help new photographers because, most of the time, the smaller the camera, the better. For example, This is my street photography camera. This is a Canon M6 Mark II, okay? Simple. It's a crop sensor camera, and it's a mirrorless version of that camera. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a great little powerful camera in my hand, okay? But it's still under $1,000, and it's a crop sensor camera. You know, you don't need a full frame camera to do street photography, all right? And, you know, on top of that, when it comes to the lenses that I shoot with, I have this 35 millimeter manual only lens, so no autofocus. I use this primarily on my camera most of the times. And then I have this 24 millimeter 2.8 lens that I use on occasion when I don't want a manual focus. The most important thing about being a street photographer is your timing. You want to be able to really capture images as they happen as soon as you pick up the camera to your eye and take the picture. You have to be fast. You can't wait for your camera to focus in on your subject and then take a picture, because by then the moment is going to be gone. You know, zone focusing is something where you preset a certain distance between you and a subject, or a popular shooting distance that you like to capture your subjects at. So for me, I know that I like to capture my subjects, you know, anywhere between 3 feet and beyond. And what helps me capture that focus is having a higher aperture. Believe it or not, I shoot at usually an f7 to a f8 aperture when I do my street photography. That allows me to not only keep my subject that I'm actually shooting at in front of me, but the background in focus as well, because the background for street photography a lot of times is going to add context to the photo. Another thing that I love about street photography is the ease of the editing. I like to do both color and black and white depending on if it lends a story. If colors are part of the story, then I'll leave it color. Like, for example, I went to Puerto Rico last September and I visited Old San Juan. Old San Juan is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful part of San Juan, Puerto Rico, and the colors are so vibrant. So a lot of my street photography pics, I left color because I wanted that accuracy. I wanted to tell the story and that depth of color to express that story when it came to the photos. Then in Houston, when I go out and about, I typically will do in black and white if there's not so much color going on. Houston is a great city, but it's not the most colorful city. So, you know, I'm not really missing anything if I take the colors out and turn it to black and white. Another thing about the editing is it doesn't require a lot of manipulation. You know, I don't add things to my story. You know, I make sure exposure is correct. I try to compose in a way. I do crop in a lot. Some purist street photographers feel like you should never crop in on your photos, but sometimes I'm just a little too far and I need to zoom in a little bit to really tell the story that I want. I think cropping in is fine, but I honestly will edit a lot of my street photography photos on my phone or on my tablet. I don't bring it into Lightroom Classic on the computer a lot. It's something that I usually just edit on the go, and I love that about street photography because it takes that pressure off of you. Another reason why I like street photography is because to enjoy street photography, you can't do it for the clout, all right? You can't do it for the likes and, you know, the comments and, you know, the online fame. If that's what you're looking for when it comes to street photography, then you're probably going to be very disappointed and get frustrated. That actually was something that was super appealing to me, because I feel like so nowadays, especially in, you know, 2022 in the digital world and social media, that's all people pick up the camera for, is to get that clout, to get that notoriety. They don't pick up the camera because they're genuinely interested in shooting photos or genuinely interested in, you know, being a photographer. They're doing it because they want to get next to models, or because they think it's gonna, you know, be easy and it's gonna get them some clout online, or it's gonna blow their profile up, etc., etc. Who knows? But it's very rare that you find people nowadays who are actually doing it for the love of art. And street photography is something that I feel that if you focus on it and you really are appreciative of it, it's because you love the art. So if you're looking to get into street photography, then I'll give you some quick tips on how to get started, and hopefully it's going to allow you to get on the right path of being a more active street photographer. My second tip would be to learn manual focusing. All right. You want to be able to manual focus your lens, have it set to a preset focal distance, and stick within that distance to shoot your subject. Another tip that I have is don't over edit your work. You know, correct certain things about it, you know, but don't try to make your work perfect. Street photography is not about being perfect. If your shot's a little blurry or a little out of focus, it's okay. You know, it's telling an authentic story through your camera lens, and that's what's the most important. There's so many photos that are famous, world-renowned street photography photos that are barely in focus or super blurry. But because the context of the photo is there, because the story is there, and because that power is there, they are world-renowned photos. And my last tip would be is to share your work. All right, share it with friends, families, post it online, print your work out if you can. I actually have an album that I'm working on, and I have a really cool printer. It's a really quality printer. It's a Canon C100 Pro a Canon C100. What is it? A Canon Pixma. I can't even talk. A Canon Pixma. Anyway, I have a Canon printer. It's really good. I have started printing out my work, and I have these little, 4x6 sheets of paper, and it's actually right here. I'll show it to you guys real quick. I got this album off of Amazon. It doesn't have a cover or anything on it right now, and I have been, just sharing and writing little notes about, different photos that I've taken. And I don't know what I plan on doing with it, but, I'm just printing out my favorite shots and doing it. And it's given me a new appreciation to my work and to my photos, and I'm seeing the progression, and I'm just loving the moments that I'm capturing. All right, so yeah, it's a little bit different of a video for me today, and I hope you enjoyed my appreciation, I guess, for street photography, and I hope you learned something today. I did kind of go on a little bit of a rant there, but hopefully it wasn't too bad for you. And I hope that this has interested you in street photography, and maybe you'll give it a try. Anyway, this is Jason Osborne. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.